They are living a hellish existence, constantly besieged by the temptations of the satanic world. The youth of America should realize, they should understand that the way they are living is contrary to God's will. Instead of pursuing the body's pleasure, we should torment our body. Why? Because, open and close bracket, due to the fall, our body has become Satan's dance floor. And this is from a speech on February 20, 1991. It sounds familiar. I think we read it yesterday. Christians in the Middle Ages practiced asceticism and placed great hardship on their bodies. However, in modern times, many churches became disparaging of the ascetic life. They have lost sight of the fact that the body dominates the conscience unless one takes active measures to stop it. Not knowing this principle, they turned away from the central aspect of the Christian tradition. Now that you know clearly the enemy lives in your physical body, you must treat it as an enemy. You must continue on the ascetic path until the body is suppressed. And this is from a speech on February 13, 1994. Two pluses repel each other. God is in the position of the plus, but Satan also tries to stand in this plus position, although open and closed. As a servant of God, he should be in the minus position. Such is Satan. Why does the path of self-destruction call us to asceticism? Its purpose is to strike Satan's realm within each of us. That plus side that belongs to evil, in order to switch it over to the minus position. And this is from a speech on February 16, 1958. And now we're on page 916. The path of religion is one of denial. On that path, we should deny the desire for food, sleep, sex, and all things that we like. Give up your sexual desire. Go without food and sleep. Originally, a human being should eat, sleep, and enjoy things. However, as these desires of the body lead us to death, we must reject them. Burst a nuclear bomb in your body. Break and completely subjugate your body. The body wants to be respected and live in comfort. It is like harsh conditions and like what is easy, soft, and plump. But we should despise all that the body likes. We should love what is difficult, hard, and rough. The body likes a high position. It is happy to eat well even by taking someone else's money. It does not care about anyone but itself. We have to destroy such a nature. We have to bring the body down to be humble, to serve and to sacrifice. And this is from a speech on May 21, 1967. And now we have number 2, fasting. On the 10th day of the 7th month is the day of atonement. It shall be for you a time of holy convocation. You shall afflict yourselves by open and close bracket, by fasting. And this is from Leviticus chapter 23, verse 27. O believers, prescribed for you is the fast, even as it was prescribed for those that were before you. Haply you will be God-fearing, for days numbered the month of Ramadan, wherein the Quran was sent down to be a guidance to the people, and as clear signs of the guidance and the salvation. So let those of you who are present at the month fast it. And if any of you be sick, or he be on a journey, then a number of other days. God desires ease for you, and desires not hardship for you, and that you will fulfill the number and magnify God, that he has guided you, and happily you will be thankful. And this is from the Quran, Surah 2, verses 183 to 8185. My son, you ought to be of some help to your fellow men, and for that reason I counsel you to fast. Our grandfather who stands in our midst sends forth all kinds of blessings. Try then and obtain one of these. Try to have one of our grandfathers, one of the war chiefs, pity you. Then someday, as you travel along the road, open and close all life, you will know what to do and encounter no obstacles. Without any trouble, you will then be able to seek the prize you desire. Then the honor will be yours to glory in. For without any exertion have you obtained it. All the war power that exists has been donated to our grandfathers, who are in control of warfare. And if reverently you thirst yourself to death, then they will bestow blessings upon you. Now, if you do not wear out your feet, if you do not blacken your face with charcoal, it will be for naught that you inflict suffering upon yourself. These blessings are not obtainable without effort. Try to have one of all the spirits created by Earth Maker take pity upon you. Whatever he says will come about. If you do not possess a spirit to strengthen you, you will be of no consequence, and the people will show you little respect. A Winnebago Father's Precepts, Native American Religions. And when you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces that their fasting may be seen by men. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by men, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And this is from the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 16 to 18. Now we're on page 917, Teachings of our Father Reverend Sun Myung Moon. What does the body desire? It likes to be comfortable. That is why we are told to walk the path of suffering. Next, the body likes to eat good food. That is why religion tells us to fast. You must do the opposite of what the body desires. And this is from a speech on February 1, 1986. Going hungry for many days is among the most miserable and painful experiences. Yet we should transcend our hunger and yearn for God more than food. Unification Church members are obliged to fast for 7 days. Who among you has done a 7-day fast? There are many of you. Think back on your own experience. When the 7th day arrived, were you watching the clock for the moment you could eat again? Were you counting down the minutes and the seconds? When the clock struck midnight, did you think, "Hooray, at last, it is time to eat"? Or at that moment did you lift your heart to God, longing for Him? Which did you crave more, God or food? Most of you probably crave for food, but actually when you fast, you should long for God more than for food. During my 30s, I was hungry every single day. Do you know how much I longed to eat some food? If I even overheard someone talking about food, my mouth would involuntarily drop open and I would start to draw. Whenever that happened, I would say out loud, G-O-D, rather than F-O-O-D. You should all have such experiences. Unless you fast and conquer hunger, its power will block God's love from coming to you. And this is from a speech on October 9, 1977. What is required to engraft the love of God into our lives? What I fear most is the physical body. The body is the enemy. It has 3 supreme truths. The first is to eat. Eating when you are hungry is a truth. The problem arises when eating takes control of your life. Therefore, you should overcome the desire for food. You should establish that you love God more than eating, more than your body craves food when it is hungry. By doing so, you tap into a higher love and gain power to control your body. That is why people fast. Even Jesus fasted for 40 days. All the prophets and founders of religions fasted. The second truth is sleep. You should win over sleep. How can you find God's love? By overcoming sleep. The test comes when you are getting sleepy. When you can show that you love God more than you like to sleep. Many prophets and saints exerted themselves to the utmost, fighting against sleep. They would do all kinds of things to stay awake, even stab their legs with a knife, because they regard sleep as the enemy. You too should adore God in a place where you overcome sleep. I slept less than 2 hours a day, every day for more than 7 years. God's love can approach you when you go over the boundary line of hunger and desire to sleep. The third truth is sex. And this is from a speech on October 9, 1977. And we have here the topic of celibacy. And we have Reverend Ezra here. think it will be a short topic on page 917. Have you read this, Ezra? No, not yet. Okay.
Page 917, the third topic, celibacy. We read, Jesus, in brackets, said to them, not all men can receive this saying, but only those to whom it is given. For there are units who have been so from birth, and there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by men, and there are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. He who is able to receive this, let him receive it. And this is from the book of Matthew, chapter 19, verses 12. And we turn to page 918, and we read, for in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. And this is a reading from the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verses 30. And we read, both learning from the practice of the teaching are lost to him who is given to sexual intercourse. He employs himself wrongly. That is what is ignoble in him. And this is from Sutta Nipata 815, Buddhism. And we read, the unmarried man is anxious about the Lord, how to please the Lord, but the married man is anxious about worldly affairs, how to please his wife, and his interests are divided. And the unmarried woman or virgin is anxious about the affairs of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the married woman is anxious about worldly affairs, how to please her husband. I say this for your own benefit, not to lay any restraint upon you, but to promote good order and to secure your undivided devotion to the Lord. And this is from the 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 32 to 35. And we read, free from selfish attachments, they do not get compulsively entangled even in home and family, enjoying solitude and not following the crowd. They seek only me. And this is a reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verses 9 to 10, from Hinduism. And we read, I renounce all sexual pleasures, either with gods or men or animals. I shall not give way to sensuality, nor cause others to give way to it, nor consent to their giving way to it as long as I live. And this is from Sutra 24, and this is from Jainism. And we read, having abandoned the different kinds of desires founded on child, wife, father, mother, wealth, corn, relations, let one walk alone like a rhinoceros. And this is from Sutta Nipata 60 from Buddhism. And we continue to read the teachings of our true father, the Reverend Dr. Sang Myung Moon. In bracket, due to the fall, close bracket, the human ancestors were caught in an empty trap. Can God publicly recognize families formed in this realm? This is why religion have emphasized celibacy. Some of you gather here have many sons and daughters, but you also should have led celibate lives. This is not just my word, it is not taught in Buddhism and Catholicism. Do you know why? It brings people closer to God. The first ancestors of humankind were unable to have their proper wedding ceremony before God. In that sense, none of us human beings have truly been born. How then can we have weddings? As descendants of the fall, we must first go to the path of restoration and receive the grace of salvation. And this is a speech given to us September 1st, 1968. And we read, in order to uphold the heavenly ideal of love, God had no choice but to form religions that exalted the celibate life. Men and women are meant to follow true love and become husband and wives who meet the heavenly standard. But because of our ancestors' mistake that betrayed heaven's love, they cannot. Therefore, God set up the way of celibacy so that at least single persons could receive the love of God by following the celibate way of life. And this is a reading from Blessing and Ideal Family 2.2.4. And we read, from the perspective of the divine principle, all men and women in this world are offsprings of the archangel. Therefore, they are not qualified to marry. For this reason, God encouraged people to live a life of celibacy. God could not marry the first parents. How then can he approve the marriages between impure, solvently people who have fallen into a puddle of sewage? Such love is unprincipled. This is why the higher religion emphasizes celibacy. And this is a speech given to us October 4th, 1969. And we turn to page 919 and we read, do angels have spouses? No. That is why religions so far have encouraged the celibate life. The Buddha's original standard that monks and nuns should not marry is in accord with the principle. These days, some Buddhist monks and nuns marry, but by doing so, they fall short of the standard. In fact, married Protestant clergy also fall short. And this is a speech Blessing and Ideal Family 2.2.4. And we read, archangels are not yet qualified to marry. In the Bible, the Sadducees asked Jesus. There were 7 brothers. The first married and died, and having no children left his wife to his brother. So too the second and the third, down to the 7th. After them all, the woman died. In the resurrection, to which of the 7 will she be wife? For they all had her. Jesus answered, in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. And this is in bracket Matthew 22 verses 25 to 30. Jesus answered that way because it was still the age of restoring the archangelic realm, a realm where people cannot yet have a marriage partner. Because religion has been in the archangelic realm, it could not exalt marriage. This is the reason higher religions have emphasized the celibate life. And this is a speech given to us November 7th, 1971. And now we come to the end of that reading here on page 919, and there is a subtopic number 4, the problem with asceticism, lack of love. And we can continue to read that tomorrow, and we can now reflect on what we read this morning from actually page 916, the second subtopic related to fasting, and the page 917, what we read about celibacy until here. Is there anyone willing to share in this regard, in regard to the 2 topics we read today, fasting and celibacy? We can see fasting has been is an old thing. It's as far as we can see is in the Old Testament. We can see it in Leviticus, and on the Day of Atonement, we read, on the 10th day of this 7th month is the Day of Atonement. It shall be for you a time of holy convocation, and you shall afflict yourselves by fasting. And we see it in Quran, we see it in Native American religion, we see it in the Bible, Matthew chapter 6, 16 to 18, and we see also how True Father talks about fasting, and they are all united in saying the same thing, that we do this as conditions because we are offsprings of our first ancestors who did not qualify to marry and did not, when they misused their sexual organ and they crossed bloods and inherited the spirit and the blood of the archangel, they everything about them was lost from God's providence. And God's providence had to stop, and God had to start the process of restoration. And therefore, fasting and all these celibacy things are part of our separation from those desires, so that we subjugate our bodies and subjugate our external desire and promote our spiritual aspirations, build that spiritual muscle in ourselves in relation to God. Like what you read from True Father here says, when you are opening the fast, after 7 days, as the clock is ticking, you are counting minutes and the seconds. Then he is asking, when the clock struck midnight, did you think, hurrah, at last it is time to eat? Or at that moment did you lift your heart to God, longing for Him? Which did you crave more, God or food? Most of you probably craved for food, but actually when you fast, you should long for God more than for food. During my 30s, I was hungry every single day. Do you know how much I longed to eat some food? If even overheard someone talking about food, my mouth would involuntarily drop open and I would start to draw. Whenever that happened, I would say out aloud, G-O-D, God, rather than F-O-O-D, which means food. You should all have such experiences. Unless you fast and conquer hunger, its power will block God's love from coming to you. So this attitude we have in our mind towards on the seventh day to open, longing for God and clinging to God and fast. Even if it strikes midnight, we go to the prayer room and pray and offer everything, the fasting condition to God. And then now, after that, you can go and open your fast. Therefore, you have something you have offered to God first. Then you reward your body for accepting to go through the fasting. You reward your body with food. So, and you will always remember the significance of your fasting is to conquer your body. Now about celibacy, we can see that sex is another area that becomes a prominent feature of all adults. And because of the abuse of sexual organs and the abuse of love, true love, and there is no control. It began with Adam and Eve and the archangel when they were pretty young people. So young people are abused as a repeat of what the archangel did in the Garden of Eden, and abused Eve first, then Eve also abused her husband by tempting him also. And the consequences of it all, abused or not abused, or approached or not approached, is submitting to sex makes the condition of being dominated by that desire. But to deny yourself, having no boyfriend, having no girlfriend, for what we did in our formula course training, for 3 years, no girlfriend, no boyfriend. We are witnessing and fundraising. Then you are every day training that muscle in your spirit, in your mind, in your physical body. No desire will overcome you related to sex. And you are making your 3 years condition never to have sex, so that we could receive the blessing, and also we could have 3 spiritual children. If you, we believed that if you make a mistake, then your spiritual children will also do the same thing. And then you are returning yourself back to Satan the second time, which says it is going to be not only 7 times harder, but Satan will cling to you and maybe never to release you. So we really feared to make that mistake. We were given internal guidance all the time about food, sex, and sleep. So, and true Father's words are very, very clear, but for the celibate life, we can see the archangel were not qualified to marry, and Adam and Eve also had not reached the mature age for God to bless them in marriage and make their ceremony for marriage. So that's why they were guilty, and they were hiding from God, and the sense of nakedness crept in. And while they were naked all their past without hiding, so the sense of hiding crept in because of guilt, because of it was stealing. It was like stealing. No thief is openly have guts to that they are not thieves, which is a shameful thing. So Adam and Eve, they had stolen love, which was not theirs as yet. And the archangel was another thief who went to steal the realm of love, which was not in his realm to participate in that love. And all of them separated from God and gave God and humanity and the archangelic realm a very, very difficult path that we know until today, 6,000 years. It took a long time to establish true parents again on earth who are pure, who understood this process, who knew the will of God, and stayed on this path, paying all the indemnity of 6,000 years until true parents could receive their own blessing by first blessing the 12 first disciples, 36 couples. There were conditions there so that true parents also could qualify for their own blessing. And we can see our true parents really also worked very hard to absolutely separate good and evil in their own life and in the life of humanity, and now we have a path to follow. Thank you very much. That's what I would like to share today.
Thank you, Reverend Ezra. Anybody else who wants to share about the reading today, fasting and celibacy? Anyone? So these are all part of bodily desires that we should control with our mind. So in the previous chapters we know that this is all part of the first blessing. When we unite mind and body, we control our bodily desires, and this is not accomplished only by us but with the help of God. It should be centered in God. As we learn from the principle, the first blessing, if we unite mind and body centered in God, we will have an ideal self. And from then on, if we are mature, you can go and multiply. But it should be blessed by God, but not by the dark side, because as we have read here in the previous chapter or two about asceticism, our body is the dance floor of Satan. So our body is yearning always to have food, drink, and sleep. And we need to control all these things. And as we have learned from Father, he sleeps only 2 days for 7 days. And always he stay awake until in the wee hours of the morning, and then get up again and go fishing at 4 or even earlier in the morning. So he sleeps a few winks and he's up and running again. And that's how to control sleep. As we have read, if we control sleep, even God will, go with you. And we always think about the truth, of course, using the mind. That's why we're reading right now. Beauty, goodness, and love, which is all part of the yearnings of the mind. And it should be the one controlling our bodies instead of our bodies controlling the mind. And we know about the 3 truths today. That there are 3 supreme truths, and the body is the enemy. The first is to eat. So eating when you are hungry is a truth. The problem arises when eating takes control of your life. So it's good that I did, Hoon Dok Hae, we're reminded always, mind and body unity, and then sleep, and of course eventually the third truth is sex. So we always, even we have desires to even linger, even in the internet. It's not safe. Those people who try to learn from the UTS, and if you also stay in the center, you are not, you're not allowed to bring in, magazines, lewd things, or even these calendars that, that shows women who are scantily clad. And even when I went to Thailand, when I tried to see the newspaper, since they have so many, things there that women who are, very attractive, I cannot see one of them. They were all blooded out. It was the center where I visited Wasana. And when also the TV, so I was like a child. He will cover my eyes. So, when we watch the TV and then they turn it off. So this is how disciplined they are in their center. They took out whatever is, because it will trigger the not only the sisters but also especially our brothers. So that's how they keep themselves pure, and then they always, of course, they have. I try to pray also with True Parents picture, but they said since at the time there was a persecution, when they see you with a True Parents picture, they might relate you to those people who were jailed because they were talking about the new king and queen that is better than their king and queen in Thailand. So you can just show True Parents picture. You should show always the picture of the king and queen of Thailand. So they are, living there also in, a life of, dedication. So they always try to bring true parents always picture with them, and just do it secretly, as we have read today, that when we're fasting, we should not be disfiguring our faces to show that we are fasting, but we wash our face, anoint our head, and that we fast, and only the Father will know that we are fasting, and who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And this is from Matthew. Anybody else wants to share about the reading today? And lastly, of course, they are eunuchs. They don't have any relationship with women, as we read here from Matthew chapter 19. There are many monks there also. They don't, they have golden robes. That means they are vowing, they have a vows of chastity. So they don't even look at any woman lewdly. And they have a saying also that when there's a story that they crossed this river, there was a woman that needs to be carried, and this monk carried her to the other side of the bank of the river. And once they have left this woman, the one who did not carry the woman was still thinking about her. And of course he committed, because he never even carried this woman. His superior was telling him, why are you still thinking about the woman? Even though we already, passed, about bringing her to the other bank of the river. So that's how they are suppressing the bodily desire, even to think about the opposite sex. So I hope that We learn a lot from this topic today. And if there's none, let's all rise and have unison prayer. Our most beloved Heavenly Parents, we are so grateful for encouraging us, for letting us pass about the control of food by fasting for 7 days many times. We pray that even our chain fasting condition would be fulfilled until we bring in more and more conscientious people here in this church. We pray that today, whoever is fasting, for the success of the 430 couples that we can bring to this church, we would fulfill it, and we can do our part too this weekend. And we pray, our Heavenly Parents, that we can control this body who is still connected to the dark side. And we pray that our second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh generation would be pure from the clutches of Satan. We pray that religiously we have this life of faith, that we can really place ourselves with a lot of good things, especially these good words that we read from the other world scriptures and your teachings, our Heavenly Parents, and take out the ones that the archangel Satan has placed in our ancestors to this day. We pray that we can influence people, and we pray that we can guide them to the fulfillment of God's creation, that they are meant to really have all these things for the betterment and for the success and the victory of our true parents and the humankind. We pray that we can always relate to your words, always as we really do our daily task today. And we pray for each other's success as we always practice what we read and even we preach here. And we pray all of this in all our names and in my name. Athanasius Francis, sake of the land, bless several family. Aju, aju, aju. Uri esonen ton Rumero sonen ton imo sumbacho soton Tongilio ora Igio esaniden tongil Inara chadende tongil Tongilio Tongilio ora. Good morning to you, our true teachers, our true parents of heaven and earth and humankind. Good morning to the true children, the true grandchildren, and all our brothers and sisters. Good morning. Good morning,
Yes,
Reverend Oliver. Good morning, everyone. Have a great and wonderful day.
Happy Thursday.
Happy